Head into this next game. It is started. We are in the lobby. The final game for group number 1 is about to be in the books. Oh my goodness. 12 games over 3 weeks, and it all comes down to this. Who can get the roles? Who can plan the strats? Who can have the picture-perfect placement? Well, we're going to find out. Let's see who can walk away on top. And I think the player we should start with, definitely should be the winner of that last game. It has to be GG, no rematch, or I like calling him Norm because it's GG Norm.
Yeah.
Ooh, Norm.
And Norm, I consider a very affectionate name, perhaps.
Yeah,
maybe most
Norman.
names are affectionate, but yeah, Norm has a particular nice feeling to it. Pretty boring to start, to be honest.
A couple God of Wars.
Yeah, sorry, I hate to say it. A couple Gods of War out there. He's got a Soul Breaker on the bench. Nothing too exciting happened for Gigi Nori. Of course, these early stages are the neutral rounds. So this is just basically to get some simple items out and to really get your strategy going. Where the stories will really start being told is when you start facing off against other players in round 4. But now I see Gigi Nori. Look at that, picking up a couple Abyssal Crawlers very early. So that's something that we saw a couple players utilize with very good success, including Silent went for Abyssal Crawlers. And I know we're staying on GG Norm, but I want to take a peek at Silent. It looks like Silent not going for Abyssal Crawlers early. Instead, he got a couple Heaven Bombers, Thunder Spirit, and a Soul Breaker. So again, pretty standard to see the early Goblin play. And then once round 4 hits, you start seeing when those win streaks happen, when those loss streaks happen, and you start seeing players go for certain strategies based on what they're seeing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's quite a bit of reason that we really don't pay a lot of heed to these early pickups here. I mean, you're going to see a lot of goblins and stuff, and then it's usually the transition out of that. What does that look like? Traditionally, before the most recent update, you could theoretically take goblins into the late game, flexing into a carry Venomancer with Kira, some potential spirit play coming in there as well. But now really, you're going to have some of these cheap 2-star units just to help you coast through this early game. If you're going to open for it, you'll flex into Priest, you'll take that reduced damage, and then from there, you'll make the call of what you're actually going to go. And Assassins, I think, is actually one of these really fun ones because placement is so key. Like, Assassins might seem kind of, I don't want to say brainless, but it seems a little simple at a glance, but really positioning is so crucial.
Yeah, and that might be, I mean, it's a question I would ask a pro player, but I wonder how much of that is, he just found 2 Abyssal Crawlers, and then he's like, okay, well, if the game's going to give me that, Assassins all the way, let's go. So we'll keep an eye on Gigi Nori and see if he continues with that. Also, something fun to do this game is to really compare it to last game, because this is the first time we're really seeing a couple groups back to back. And also, just a quick reminder for the audience, all these players are playing against every other player in every other group. So it doesn't really matter too much what the existing standings look like. All these guys are going to be trying as hard as they can because they're competing against other players that are not in this lobby. But to compare it to last game really quick, a couple things I'm looking out for. Number 1 is the use of the Assassins, and we already see the Abyssal Crawler coming out from Gigi Nori. So as we said, we're going to keep an eye on that. Number 2 is going to be the Glacial Knight. We didn't really see it too much, Glacial Knight strategy throughout the course of the series, but we saw it work out very strongly in the last game for Gigi Nori. So the questions that brings up is, will Gigi Nori go for something like that again, or will we see other players go for that, or will we see too many players go for it since it was so strong? And then finally, I find myself curious what we're seeing on the screen right now, which I think you're highlighting there, a couple Warpwood Sages. That is something we've also seen pretty heavily in these games, is the Warpwood Sage alone, just as a very big tank factor. So I'm very curious about Warpwood Sage play and hybrid play, or excuse me, Druid play in general.
Yeah, and Druids, again, it's one of these synergies that at a glance, you're like, it just gives me an extra level on the piece. I don't know about that. But again, if utilized in tandem with other builds, it can be very, very effective. I think Warpwood Sage definitely, and the Razor Claw being by far the 2 strongest units that if you're going to play around with, there's potential changes coming to the Unicorn down the road, sort of changing up the cure and how that works. I think maybe might make Druids a little bit more viable, but we'll see. Because just look at how sustainable Warpwood Sage is with this Leech Seed. It's really, really, which brings me back to my early Pokemon days, but which just makes me think, oh man, like there's a lot of cool, exactly, a lot of cool stuff you can do with that.
Oh man, the nostalgia. It hits. A lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people have argued Pokemon would make a good auto battler, by the way, because it's
Oh,
you're evolving units, right?
what?
Would anything make more sense than that? So we don't know what Nintendo's or Pokemon Company's doing, so we'll see
Yeah.
about that.
Huh.
Auto battler is basically auto battlers are basically Pokemon. As you're evolving your units, so on and so forth. But looking at the lobby, we have 2 players on a loss streak, Joseph and Prodigy. Remember, Prodigy is in contention. Actually, both these players are in contention, but they're both kind of in the middle almost. Prodigy a little bit more towards the top. But we're just seeing 2 players coming out and going for those loss streaks early on. And meanwhile, Silent is at the top. Which
I'm pretty sure it's at this point Silent could probably go out in like 7th or 8th and probably still make it to the finals. I think he's in good enough contention. I could be wrong on that, but he's pretty far up at the top there. Zath's the other one who's sort of on the cusp. Now Norm, I think, he's got 55 points. He's relatively within striking distance here. Prodigy as well as Joseph. Those are the other 2 that I think are really, really fighting for a top 4 finish. If you look towards, if it's Silent, Zath, Prodigy, and Joseph in the top 4, that's quite a few potential players from group number 1 making it on.
And again, it's all so close. So this is going to come down to the wire today. It's going to come down to the last game that we see today. Without a doubt, with how close all of these players are across all of the lobbies. But we're looking at Silent here, and let's see what he has going on. Looks like he's got a dwarf sniper in the back. Meanwhile, just pretty cookie cutter plays here. We've got the 2-star Heaven Bomber, but we're not seeing a crazy commitment into goblins, even though he's got 3 of them. It's got the Doom Arbiter, which is allowing a fair amount of sustain. He's got a Thunder Spirit in there just to add some AoE. He might have leveled up a little bit sooner, but nothing too eyebrow raising for me as far as what Silent is up to. Of course, picking up that mage bonus really quick by throwing in the Ogre Magi, which is enables the enemy to lose, which removes 35% magic resistance from the enemies with that mage bonus. And again, that's just a little. It's not gonna be huge. It's not gonna be huge. He's only got a 1-star Tortella Elder and 1-star Thunder Spirit. So I'm not convinced about how long this streak will last. Yeah, okay, it might just be over.
I think it's over now. But one of the things I wanted to say is that that pack was very interesting to me because it had a lot of good, like 4-cost units, 4-cost pieces, and he opted for the Tortola Elder. He actually did win that. That's crazy. He opted for the mage, and then he flexed immediately into the mage. That I think was probably one of the most telling. That's to me suggests he is actually going to commit to flexing into the mage, assuming something crazy doesn't happen at this point. That was such a telling point in the game, and we'll see if he continues it. I don't think he'll necessarily pick up the sources here, but we'll see. But I was just saying, I think that's super, super interesting. Prodigy and Joseph are still open fording. They're just going into priest bonus. They're just taking that reduced damage. Keep an eye on that. Though, as I look at this now, priest has gone away for Prodigy. If I was a betting man, I would say that this is the round he's looking to win. This is the round he's looking to break this loss streak. So it's kind of early to do. So I'm kind of confused about it now, why he's taking out his priest bonus. So because it's the neutral round. Every single time I have this point of confusion, it's because I don't look at what round it is, Axel Toss. It's 100% of the time. I'm so focused on these players, I lose track of time. Yeah, just don't lose to neutral skids.
We can make a montage of it. That could be funny.
Barum gets confused by neutral rounds.
It's happened to the best of us. I feel like it's happened to the best of us, especially while we're playing, where it's like we're amping up. It's like, oh wait, it's a neutral round. Yeah, keep an eye on the round there. Focus at home. It is relatively important. Obviously, neutral rounds is not as threatening as other players and doesn't really count towards your wins and loss streaks. So, to your point, I wonder, because he's still at level 5. So I wonder if he doesn't mind losing a little more, because if he really wants to win, he'd go up to level 6, right? So I wonder if he's waiting like 2 more rounds. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'll lose the next 2, and then he'll be able to level up with 1 click, and then start winning. No, we'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think usually we see around round 16 is when lost streaks, assuming all the pieces come together, is when we are starting to see these players really look to end that streak. They're going to have above 50, and they're going to be able to level as you said, basically on repeat. They could double level going down to 30, but normally we just see the 1. And you want to just continue to be able to put like 2 or 3 XP pops in above 50 so that you just get that level immediately, like you said, once you decide to go on that win streak. So good times.
Yeah, Prodigy ended up winning on his board, so his loss streak is gone. The only other player with the loss streak right now is Joseph at 62 HP, 41 gold in the bank. Looking at Joseph's build really quick, he's also got a few mages in play. He's got some dragons on the bench, a lot of mages on his bench also. So it's kind of curious how we're already seeing a couple players lean pretty strongly into the mage. Of course, we were talking about Silent a little bit earlier, but those are only the only 2 players that have mage tactics going on. Just perusing the rest of the board, still a fair amount of goblins in play. Meanwhile, Jared has picked up a 2-star Lightblade Knight. I'm not seeing any other knight play really. That was one of the questions I asked earlier. Is okay, since it was so strong the game before, will we see another player try to go for knight play?
Yeah, I mean, again, you just got to get some luck, and it seems like not really a whole lot of knights, actually not a ton of knights in this lobby, period, right now, going with that. But we do see the level 2 Lightblade Knight coming on in. Again, keeping these strong druids up at the front, and actually 6 feathered. That's the committal right now, which is really unconventional. We do not see a lot of that. Also note, Jared really, not having the most success over the course of these playoffs. A lot of great learning experiences here as well. And now going for a build that I know some of the top players are like, man, I wish Feathered was viable. We heard Nova talked about that last week. Oh, I wish Feathered was viable. But still, we'll see how this goes here for Jared. He's really just playing for fun at this point.
Yeah, and I guess strategically, Druids and Feathered can go together pretty nicely because both Warpwood Sage and the Whisper Seer have that Feathered attribute. So it is reasonable to go for one and go for the other. So that might be the big indication of why he went for mostly a Feathered strategy here. But I wonder how much he's going to commit to these Druids. He's got 2 out, and the advantage with the Druids, as I've mentioned, is just how fast you can get to that 3-star potentially. But you have to also hope that not a lot of other people in the lobby are going for Druid. But as we've seen, Druid has been pretty popular. At the very least, the Warpwood Sage. We saw, I believe it was Silent in the last game. He had the couple 3-star Druids out. Did end up winning, but certainly gives us an idea of how much they're preferred. And a quick scan of the lobby again. It looks like Jared's the only one really with the Druid and a Feather, actually. So we'll keep an eye on Jared. Could be a fun bit of retribution for this guy if he's able to put together a build that no one else is really going for.
I also want to note that we're only really seeing one player looking towards Assassins right now, which is Benny, one of many Canadians in the lobby that I should note. I do want to jump more with Prodigy, though, because the loss streak finally did come to an end for him. And I'm not sure if it was necessarily when he wanted it to. So we'll see if he's going to be able to now start on his win streak, because that's usually it. It's a binary. It's a 1 or a 0. On a loss streak, now on a win streak. You really don't want to be trading back and forth. You really want to be committing to one or the other. And it looks like that wasn't the case. No, he's back on it now. Yeah. Okay, he's back on the 3. Okay, all right. Well, I was a little concerned.
I don't know how ideal that is, because
it's not.
Because what you mentioned, like, he was on a loss streak, and as you said, when you go from a loss streak, you don't necessarily want to go back into the loss streak, or else you would have just kept that existing loss streak that you had, like what Joseph is doing. So Prodigy maybe messed up a little bit in giving up a win, as weird as that might sound. Yeah. But I'm definitely a little nervous for him. It doesn't seem like a remarkable composition. I'm still curious on when exactly he's going to try to turn it around. He doesn't have as much pressure on him right now, though. He's still got 59 health, so 51 gold, still at 6 on his level. So he's probably going to want to lose the next 2 and then win. By going up to level 7, perhaps, would be my guess. And then also Joseph with the 10 loss streak, 51 gold. He is certainly going to try to turn that around pretty soon. Running out of safe space to navigate.
Wow. I also want to note Silence, who has been crushing this lobby once again, up to level 8 already. That tends to be the trend we see a lot, is the early levels at the end are the player in last on the loss streak and the player up front with the win streak. Those are the ones just getting that additional coin, being able to leverage it into that aspect of their economy. But the biggest difference here is, once again, round 15, almost identical to game number 1, Axel Toss, 50 HP.
Yeah, and I want to comment on Silent, and it's something you kind of called earlier, just how much mage we're seeing. He did end up picking up the source. He's got the 2-star Ogre Mage out there. He's got the Flame Wizard and the Tortola Elder.
And he's got an early Frostblaze Dragon at round 16, and he's actually using it? What? With the ice? What? Twitch chat, what is happening? Oh my goodness, this is not your standard round 16. Level 2 DK, I think he egged it. Level 2 DK and a Frostblaze Drag. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mostly just wanted the Dragon bonus to kick in, probably, but it's kind of curious. Not going 6 mage. He's at 5, just chilling at 5 mage, so not able to find the piece that he needs to complete that, or not doing it on purpose for some reason. But Frostblaze, maybe just for looks right now, just to try to get that dragon bonus, which gives your dragons 100 more mana.
Yeah, it allows them to
you start with 100 mana.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, instant cast. Yeah. Which is huge here. And I think part of the reason I'm like freaking out about it is because we just don't see this piece run a lot. It's sort of universally canned by the community as just not being great. But in this situation, you're right. To get that buff on your Dragon Knight, and it's still, not a bad piece, and especially at this point because it's that 5 cost, cool. Take it. And he's just wrecking face with it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff so far from Silent. Just continuing with his winning ways. And I'm still, it's like, what is that 6th mage he's looking for? I mean, he's not just chilling on 5 mage on purpose. There we go. Okay, finally threw the source in there. As you said, went up to 9, and still, compare that with Jared, who's still at level 6.
Oh my goodness, we went to Jared.
Curious.
Yeah. Let's see how this goes for him here. He's got his Feathered still. Part of the problem with Feathered is that it's good against warrior builds. It's good against assassin builds. You've got that miss chance. But up into mages, up into spirits, up into a lot of this other stuff, it's okay into spirits. It's just this happens because it doesn't. All those units are very squishy as it is, and if you don't have the additional MR, they just are. It's paper. It's a paper build. And I don't know if I love it. So, yeah. That's where I'm going with this.
Definitely. And the sustain comes with the druid that goes with it. But that, I mean, it hasn't really worked out for him. Because he's got the 2-star Whisper Seer, he's got the 2-star Warped Sage. So I suppose the idea would be, those are your tanks. Keep them in the front. Keep your Lightblade Knight alive. And have some damage following it up, but also not any other synergies going on as he just adds on the Kira bonus. Yep. And I was about to comment on that. It's just like, just Feathered and just Druid. We're at the point of the game where we're gonna need a little bit more than that. And he just got creamed by Joseph there. So Jared, he needs to find something out. He needs to work something out here. I'm not sure what the best answer. Maybe if he could just pick up a 3-star Warped Sage or Whisper Seer, I think that would be a step in the right direction. But there's Warped Sage that just popped up for him.
Oh, so we should go back to Jared, is what you're saying. And I think one of the things to note here.
Second.
Yeah,
he's looking at Warped Sage right now. He's not picking it up. But to your point, like he needs the tankiness. He needs strength. And look at him rolling down right now. Whisper Seer there too, but he ignored it. I think he needs a 3-star Druid out.
Yeah. I think, it kind of, problem is he's trying to commit in so many directions, and none of these pieces are level 2. None of these pieces are level 2. So, I'm a little bit torn on this. Again, Jared, not had the most success so far in these playoffs. Again, I think a lot of this is some good learning lessons to be had. He is going to beat this neutral round, but it's going to be close. I do want to take a look at just sort of let's hit tap here. Let's take a look at how everything is sort of rolling out so far. So we have this one build kind of flexing the Kira. We have a more traditional like day one Goblin Kira build here. Level 9 now from Prodigy. Level 9 coming in. Silent went level 9 like 4 rounds before everyone else. That's mind-boggling. We have a Spirit Mage Dragon build coming out here. We have another Assassin Druid build from Benny like we saw in game number 1. Zath, we've been really quiet on so far today, but he's actually flexing into a Mech Wizard build, which we want to take a look at because that's kind of cool. Actually, it's sort of a Goblin build. And we're going to have more Divinity Warrior coming out from GG Norm. Hang on. Axel Toss. I was so complimentary of game number 1 today, but how many different builds we saw. And we're seeing like 3 more different builds in game number 2. This is pretty nutty.
I like it. A lot of different play styles going on. A lot of different players going for different combinations of units. And a lot obviously has yet to unfold. So it might look a certain way, but it could all change pretty quickly for some of these players too. And this might be just doing everything you can to, like, one of the worst ways to lose an auto chess is to go for a build and then all of a sudden you just can't find the piece that you absolutely need. And as I say that, Jared finally found his 3-star Warpwood Sage, so that might be what he needs. Nice. I mentioned earlier, a 3-star Druid would be helpful for him. So yeah, this might just be an indication of everyone just really trying to stay in their own lane and really try to pursue something that no one else is going for, so that they can get the 3 stars that they want. And we're already seeing a fair amount of 3 stars all across the board. And strangely, Silent, our player who has not lost, most of his pieces are 1-star.
Part of the reason is because he's been able to keep this win streak alive. He burned his entire economy Axel Toss to early level. What he's losing, his deficit in terms of piece level, he's making up for it in just being able to put more pieces on the board. And he's doing well with that right now. Barely able to eke a win out over Jared, actually, is GG Norm right now. So, yeah. We'll see how this continues to go. I don't have high expectations for the 6 Warrior build as much as I personally love running it on, in my MMR of games. Not actually so great. Let's jump aboard with Silent. Let's check in with Silent.
Jared found a 3-star Lightblade Knight. I keep going back to Jared because I want him to just win. He's not doing well overall, so it'd be great to see him win. But just to keep people updated, he did find a 3-star Lightblade Knight, so maybe that can be the key to him bringing things back.
Part of the problem is he put all of his items on his 1-star Venomancer, which is not going to offer. I think he didn't necessarily want to commit to the Lightblade Knight, and he's sort of doing it because he was finding the pieces for it, but it doesn't really necessarily fit with his build that well. As we're continuing to see Silent, I was going to say win, but he actually did lose on that last round. His 15 win streak was finally broken, and he is broke. He went for broke. Zath is the only one left with any sort of economy, so I want to jump aboard with Zath. We haven't seen him yet all game. Obviously, he's a fan favorite. He's got a couple of 3s. He's got the level 3 Soulbreaker. Ooh. He's got the level 3 Ripper. Oh my goodness, all that pure damage. And wait, what is he missing here, Axel Toss? He's got half of the party, but where's his Venomancer? Has he not found a Venomancer?
Yeah, a Venomancer would complete his build here. Definitely doesn't have one though.
That is a big feels bad man. He's facing up against Prodigy now, who's running a similar version of his build, except he does have the Venomancer. That's sort of the biggest difference here, but the level, what, that Ripper? Oh, yeah.
That Ripper can just output crazy damage.
I mean, it actually wasn't that much in the scheme of things. It just looked really impressive. It was only like 2,500. That was really deceptive.
If you can get that guy on the squishy units and get the AOE working, it can. That's exactly why he puts it in the middle of the board here, to be able to just output as much damage as possible in a quick fashion. Of course, the Soulbreaker following up and doing some good damage. But yeah, looking for a Venomancer. Nothing really else synergizing for Zath. I mean, it's a little awkward too because he's got 2-star Heaven Bombers out there and nothing on the bench. So I see we're looking at Benny here.
He was the only one going for this assassin build, kind of similar to what we saw last time, but rather than flexing into the sages, or sort of the druids, I should say, he went Marine instead. So he's getting a little bit more survivability this way. He still does have, of course, that Razor Claw to assist with the Spirit Bear, just giving that additional bit of front line. Just basically, it's a distraction to allow the rest of his mages to jump into the back. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Benny,
he's kind of playing around his Marines.
Yeah, and he's got the classic Abyssal Crawler 3-star, and the items on that are as nutty as you would expect. So putting everything into that 3-star Abyssal Crawler, that's something we've seen. It's been a very preferred strategy over the course of the games that we've seen. There might be some nice transition plays into Spirit because the Assassin bonus with the Water Spirit, you can pick up a Dark Spirit, maybe that can help as the game goes along. But oh my god, we can just see how strong it is. Completely chewing through a Venomancer on the back line of that.
You combine that with that Siren ult, the Abyssal Gaze.
And actually, I was confused for a second because I'm like, wait, Zath doesn't have a Venomancer, but Zath found a Venomancer. So Zath is up to 6 goblins now. Yeah, so.
And it was so really smart. Zath, yeah, it threw me off too. But what's so smart about it is he didn't commit his items. He waited because, unlike some other auto battlers, once you equip your items on a unit, you can't unequip them. It's there forever, or unless you sell it. So that's something to keep in mind there. Norm went out though, as did Jared. So Norm's dreams, I think, of making it to the finals, I think were just dashed there. Oh my goodness, he had like 12 or 14 HP left. I didn't think he was going to go out that round. But oh my goodness, and another player that's sort of vying for this spot is Prodigy. And he's looking okay right now. He's got 2 eggs on the bench. So keep this in mind. He's also, again, playing around with this Goblin Kira build that we saw so popularized on day number 1. He's this time facing off against Bediao. We haven't seen a ton yet this game. Seems to be playing around. Interesting. His Venomancer is protected at the back. But it is, at what point Axel Tosses go from protected to not doing any damage?
Yep. It's a good question. That's a good question indeed. You kind of need the damage output along with it. And I was just looking at our standings, and
yes,
Gigi no Ri, he did win the last game, but to your point, I mean, gosh,
he was at 55.
So he was at 55. Okay, I thought he was at 60.
Or sorry, no, I think he was at 55. I said if he gets another win, he could get to that 65 mark. I think that was where I could be wrong. That's what I have in my head. I have in my head if he gets another win, he's there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off by.
I think the point. Monday, so I think the point is that him losing here is just almost unacceptable. I mean, if he literally gets top 5 in this, I think he has a chance. If he gets top 5 in this game, so Gigi no Ri,
yeah,
and that's tough. I think that's super tough for him. I feel for him, but maybe it'll work out somehow.
Oh my goodness.
But he just needed top 5.
Speaking of working out. Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking of working out, carrying, doing some lifting there was that Abyssal Crawler, almost getting the W here for Benny. But instead, Prodigy is going to be able to continue to win this. Prodigy's holding on all right. Zath's actually starting to fall down a little bit through this leaderboard. Silent is also on a loss streak, who started this game on a 15-win streak. Absolutely dominant performance. It started to run into a little bit of trouble here, but Zath's another one of these players kind of on the edge, actually. Prodigy as well, but which out of these sort of 4 towards the bottom here, which one would you want to watch, Axel Toss?
I guess we can just watch Prodigy for now, since he's at the bottom. We'll watch the guy at the bottom. Also, 0 gold for Zath, 0 gold for Prodigy. Prodigy is not level 10 yet, while Zath is level 10. So it is going to be an uphill battle here for Prodigy. He's going to be hoping to roll down for things that he needs. We can see Prodigy also at 6 Goblin. I feel like that both Prodigy and Zath going for the 6 Goblins, which is pretty interesting that they're both doing that, both able to, and both sticking to
basically it. Mirror builds. Yeah, basically mirror builds. And little things even like adding in, the Grim Touch as well. But the difference being level 3 Soulbreaker, level 3 Ripper, Yeah, so I think that was a very telling round of you can basically going for the identical build, but levels do matter. The little bit of RNG involved with just getting the pieces, getting the items that you need to carry I don't think this looks very good for Prodigy. I think of the two players running this build, Zath's going to be the one to come out on top. But Joseph, he's another one running this Spirit Mage build, very similar to what Silence doing. So we have these great examples of two players running the same builds, but the one who's able to find the pieces, the one who's able to round it out just a little bit better, get the items, they are the ones that are going to have success because they're fighting over the same pool of pieces. There are only so many to go around.
Yeah, and we just saw that matchup between Prodigy and Zath. And Zath won pretty handily, and to your point, it was like a very similar build. And I think that's happened to all of us on the ladder in auto chess, where you're going for a build and you're like, okay, this is okay, I'm still looking for pieces. And then all of a sudden you're running against someone who's basically doing what you're doing, except slightly better. And it's tough because someone's doing what you're doing, but it's slightly better. It's like there's not much you can do to overcome that gap. So we'll have to see what decisions Prodigy makes here, especially because he's out of money and he's still level 9. I don't think it looks too great for Prodigy.
Found his level 2 Venomancer. If there was any, and then it got immediately petrified and almost instantly murdered. Look, okay, hang on. Spirits are the counter to this. That's the issue. How much of a counter, though? That's the question. Keep auto-attacking Water Spirit. I believe in you. No. Level 2 Venomancer. There you go, Axel Toss. That's it right there.
Yeah, and that makes me want to look back at Zath and the progress of his Venomancer. Okay, so Zath still only has a 1-star Venomancer, but all his items, he has a lot of items on it. So he's probably a little bit upset with Prodigy for taking that. But something else that's amusing is the fact that Zath is probably bloodthirsty for Prodigy to be out of here right now, because he wants a lot of the pieces that Prodigy has. So the moment Prodigy gets knocked, I guess we'll have to just keep an eye on it. Let's keep an eye on Zath once Prodigy gets knocked to see if he can really amplify his Goblin army.
That's really the big thing to keep an eye on here. As I mentioned, again, they're fighting over the same pool of units. Those units go back in the pool once the player is removed. So keep an eye there. I love the addition too of this Dark Spirit, by the way. I think this is such a smart addition to this Goblin build because it does that percentage-based HP damage with that Black Hole. You can boost it up, get it that mana. So when you're facing up against these big chunky lineups, you do so much damage with that percentage-based ability there. So keep an eye on that. I think this is such a... But even just watching over the last couple weeks, how these builds have been tweaked, it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, we've seen some ridiculous damage from Dark Spirit in this tournament. I want to say it was last week even. Yeah, it's like 22,000 or something. Yeah, not quite 22k, but a good amount of damage for a 1-star Dark Spirit. 47, but not enough. And that hurts.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that hurts a lot. Dude, Zath just lost so much HP. So I was just saying, Zath is feeling bloodthirsty towards Prodigy. Now it might be the other way around, but they're both hurting each other a little bit by having each other's pieces.
Yeah, this is actually huge here. Both of them hanging on as long as they have has crippled both of their abilities to potentially come back in this game. And again, I think a lot of that also has to do with build. I think you could star up these units till the cows come home, but I think in some situations, the Spirit Mage is just going to counter this. This is just how it works. The Petrify, the additional damage coming out from the magic, you're not going to have the resistance against that. You don't have Marine, you don't have Knight. You're just going to take it on the, right to the face. If we're using other card game terminology, go face with all this magic damage, and we're kind of seeing it here. Petrify on that Ripper. It just can't do anything forever. That Venomancer got 2 auto attacks off the entire round. How are you supposed to defend against this? This is just the counter, and with that, I think that's going to be Zath out of it in 6th place. That's huge. Joseph actually surpassed him or outlasted him after all that. Oh my goodness, Axel Toss.
Yeah, I didn't expect that a few minutes ago. Zath was in 3rd, and he just got dropped out, and he was level 10, so it just really didn't work out for Zath. Joseph, though, I think he was the one who just took out Zath, and he is being a hero right now with only 2 HP, hanging in there, and Joseph is right on the edge of being in the top 8.
Oh my goodness. It's going to come down to these next few rounds. 2 HP and a dream. Can Zath do it? To try and get off all this magic damage. The Spirit Mage, it is doing work once again up against Benny. Like I said, that other player playing around with these goblins with this carry.
Ooh, wow. Does it? Joseph gets
Benny
past
done.
one more. Yeah, Benny's
Wow.
out.
And
Joseph
Prodigy.
gets past Prodigy.
Top 3 finish. What?
Let's go.
All right. I dig it.
That's what
Man,
you call.
that just goes to show. That just goes to show you can never give up in a game like this just because you don't necessarily think you're finding the pieces. We have 3 1-stars just because you can't necessarily find them. Good placement, good unit synergy, good committal to the build. There's so much. Joseph, has got to be ecstatic about this top 3 finish.
Yeah, for sure. And probably more calculated than we might have expected. Just the fact that he's at 2 HP. Obviously, a little luck has to work there, but there are moments in auto battlers and auto chests where you're going to be low HP, but you kind of have to play to the very edge in order to get the pieces that you need. So there's probably a moment where he was getting low and he's like, okay, I just have to spend everything and build this composition that I need, which, as we're seeing, is the mage, the spirits. So there might have been some chemistry that just worked out perfectly right when he was low health to really be able to turn this around. And what a display. I mean, he went from 7th. He was about to be knocked out in 6th or 7th. And now he's finds himself in 3rd place. So very well done from Joseph to survive this one.
That was a 3,500 damage wave slash Axel toss. That wave spirit just cut right on the angle. Oh boy, still not gonna be enough here. That's gonna be Joseph out, but still, what a series of play. What a bit of survival. And once again, Silent in this top 2. Let's take a look at what the final builds are. We've got a Divinity Warlock build coming on in from Bediao with that Veno carry. And we have this Mage Spirit build with the addition of... Oh, my goodness.
And it's almost like a little underwhelming overall. There's only one 3-star, and it's a God of War for both of these players. Just like... It might speak towards the Mage builds and the priority on spell casting rather than having super beefy 3-stars in the composition. But at the same time, whoever is able to find those 3-stars sooner rather than later is going to have an advantage.
That is going to make a big difference there. I wish we could see as observers the damage tanked number. That God of War just took a whole lot. But also interesting to note there that, Bediao actually won that round with his Venomancer doing nothing. So I actually want to jump on board now with Bediao. Silence on a bit of a loss streak here. What exactly is going so well? I think committing to these Gods of War early did a lot. And then you've got just the additional damage coming in with the Devastator. You've got the Venom, but not hard committed on it. The big carry here, the low-key carry, Storm Shaman doing so much damage with that Static Storm. Static Storm. There we go.
Yeah, and the Divinity bonus helping with the ability cooldowns also on this composition might be a big deal right now. With it only helps with synergies that are not completed, which includes the Venomancer, by the way. The Goblin synergy is not completed. It includes the Agarsis Glacial, includes the Cave Clan and Feathered, so that might be helping him quite a bit.
Yeah, it's all about those race synergies. That's really the big thing there with this Divinity. So yeah, that's really cool. We see another win now. 4-loss streak for Silent. Bediao going nuts. I think it's going to be 2 back-to-back second place finishes for Silent here, Axel Toss. Oh my goodness. What an amazing series of performances from him. Despite losing here, that's still crazy.
Yeah, he's going to be thrilled about that. I don't know if there's any sort of seeding. Probably not. I mean, it's just 8 players in the finals, so I don't know how seeding would make any sense. But he's going to be at the top. It might just be personal happiness, right? If you're able to go into qualifiers as one of the top players, it has to be so much confidence. So even though it's looking like a second place here for Silent, God, and I'm just trying to identify the strength of that build from Betiao as it went along. It must have been the Venomancer and just really amping that Venomancer up, because the other 2 players who were going Goblins were throwing away their Venomancers because they were knocked out of the game. So I think there were a couple factors there, and of course the 3-star God of War was the only 3-star on the board at the end. So I think that worked out well for Betiao as well. But yeah, a couple second place finishes for Silent. He's got to be feeling great. That might put him in a position in top 3 amongst the 8, which again might give him a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I think feeling very good after that one. That was the last game for group number 1. 12 games in our playoffs for them now in the books. This has been a lobby where there haven't been like one or two players that really dominated, took all the points, being a sponge up at the top of the leaderboard. It was very well balanced around. I mean, again, literally even going into that first game of the day, 7 of the 8 players potentially could have made it to our finals. That is just bizarre. Let's take a look back at that last game here with our Xperia highlights. Axel Toss, walk us through that game. It was another stellar one. A lot of little things done really well.
Yeah, let's go through it. And we were talking about comparing and contrasting this game with the last one. And one of the steady common denominators was the strength of Silent. We can see him here starting off with a 10-win streak. And this was just nothing too special. He found some dragon synergies early and just was piling on the ability damage from his mages, and that win streak went a long way. Here we see Jared having a decent round early on, 55 in the bank, 71 health. Unfortunately, he looks like he would get a nasty blow there from his opponent. Remember, he went for 6 feathered, but didn't really turn into what he wanted. Now we have Joseph, who was able to navigate a 6-win streak for 6 mages, 2 spirits. You can see the strength of that. Such a strong ability to output so much damage in such a short amount of time. Here's GG No Re. Now this guy, he was our MVP of last game because of how well he played. Here, just not able to find anything, nothing really going for him there. And he was dealt a ferocious blow to be knocked out in 8th place in the lobby. And that will very likely remove him from contention from the top 8, but we'll keep an eye on our standings. Moving forward here, we have Zath, knocked out by Joseph. This was another surprise. Zath was like in the top 3 and then found himself knocked out in 6th place. So he's going to be close to that top 8 threshold. Now we have Joseph somehow, some way, all the way down to 2 HP. He was the hero of this game. Finally taken down by Betiao. And Betiao, he was the guy he was the man of the match here, as we see another fight unfold. Betiao able to get the 3-star God of War, providing a ton of sustain. Had a 2-star Venomancer in there, had mage bonuses working, and that just leads to success for Betiao, able to prevail to the very end. And Silent in both games had very strong starts, but not able to figure out the win, as we see here. So maybe going into the finals, Silent might want to look at winning instead of getting 2nd place. Is certainly going to be a focus for him. But Betiao, a little bit too strong, and he's able to take that game.